Welcome to the Week 9 edition of the Davidson Football Coaches Corner, powered by Wade & Associates. I'm Jake Eisenberg, joined as always by the head coach, Scott Abell. Coach, bit of a tough result this past weekend against Marist. What did you think about the way that game unfolded?
Yeah, I'm certainly, disappointed with our outcome. I thought our energy was great. I thought the crowd was great. I thought our kids played hard. We just didn't execute, good enough. And at the end of the day, there's some things that really jump off at you. Football's people have made it more complicated over the years, but it's still the team that tackles the best, team that blocks the best, and makes the fewest mistakes usually wins the football game. And that's what happened Saturday. We didn't tackle great all the time. We had spurts of it defensively where we got after them, and then times where we seemed to let them out of our grasp. And then offensively, same thing. Times we really got it going and executed at a high level and blocked well, and then times we didn't. Just really too inconsistent. And then the costly turnover there in the third quarter, really put us behind the eight ball, right? It forced us to get out of our game and play a game we're not comfortable with. And to our kids' credit, they did, right? We made a run there at the end of the third and into the fourth quarter, and made it interesting, gave us a chance to tie it up or even take the lead, and just couldn't finish it. Just ran out of time. It's one of those games you wish you had another quarter, but you don't have another quarter, and you've got to learn to finish those games when you have the opportunity to do so.
What did you take away from the fact that the team was able to make that comeback in the fourth quarter, 14 points to make it at one point a one-score game, and then the 6-point game at the end? Sure.
Yeah, incredibly proud of that our kids, they didn't put their head down. They didn't, when we got behind, we made it tough on ourselves. We fought, and that's really what you want to see. I mean, you can't always play perfect, right? And there are going to be games where maybe you don't execute as well as you should, and you got to have that fight in you to give yourself a chance. And so we had that. We gave ourselves a chance. We just need to execute better and perform better and more consistent.
It seemed like the run game, rhythm-wise, had some trouble getting going. How did that kind of lead you to maybe adjust some things at halftime?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, rhythm was a huge key, and if you really look at the game, first downs were not good to us, right? We had some penalties, had some mistakes on first downs that put us in some second and long situations, that's not how we're built, and that kept us from getting in a rhythm. I thought we found some rhythm there in the second quarter, and then came out at halftime and a couple plays, a couple first downs, I felt like we were continuing to get it going and moving, and then we had a couple mistakes. We had a couple assignment mistakes and a couple execution mistakes, and left some guys running free in our option game that shouldn't be running free, and we took some losses. All right, and once again, now you're in 2nd and 13, 2nd and 14, and that makes it really tough to get in any rhythm, no matter what offense you're running. And so disappointed with that, but then fourth quarter comes around and we really get it going like I know we're capable of, but just kind of ran out of time.
With Tyler Phelps, he had to throw a little bit more than maybe usual, 12 of 26, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception. One of those touchdown passes, 38-yard, beautiful ball to Eli Turner Jr. Is that the best throw that you've seen from him?
Well, I mean, he's made some really good throws since we've been here, but that's as good as any. I mean, across the field on a wheel route and
Fourth and 13.
Yeah, just really dropped it in there, and so tremendous throw right there. And we have that ability, and we've shown that this year. But if we are forced into that, that's what makes it tough, right? We want to throw on our terms. That's what we say, So if we're forced into that game, that's probably not a great thing for us. And that's kind of what it turned into Saturday, because we got behind. We didn't execute early like we should have. And so, you're behind the eight ball, and you have to do some things that are outside your comfort zone. Now, to our kids' credit, we executed well and did that, but you hope not to do that. You hope to throw on your terms.
A 27-21 loss to Marist this past weekend, but a chance to get right back in the win column this Saturday. Valparaiso comes to Richardson Stadium. Davidson's now 5-3, 2-2 in PFL play. What do you make of the Crusaders this year?
Yeah, well, they're a team that's getting better each week, right? So new staff, new coach. Got out the gate slow, right? But each week, if you've watched their scores and what they've done, they've gotten better. And so last week, they kind of got it all together and put it all together and beat a good Stetson team. And so I feel very similar to the way I felt last week, that this team is playing its best football right now. We thought Marist was starting to find their rhythm. Coming into our game, Marist had played 3 quarterbacks regularly. finally decided on the right path. Right, hadn't played that freshman running back much and had turned the ball over a ton. Well, they come to our game, play one quarterback, devote the game to more, hey, let's run the football, and shorten the game, and did that, right? And so to their credit. So I think Valpo's in the same situation. They're starting to find their rhythm. So we got to get back on the horse. We got to find our rhythm again, just like we did down in Jacksonville 2 weeks ago. It's really more about us, right? We got to clean up our execution. We got to do things a little better, right? We have to block better, we have to tackle better, and we have to execute more consistently.
With Valpo, last year the win over the Crusaders was the first conference win for this program since 2015. You look where the team was then. You look where the team is now. Where have you grown?
Wow, that's what a great question. And we talked about this a little bit last night in our team meeting. Didn't really go after it like that, but how far have we come, right? We're sitting here at 5-3, and I think we're all probably a little disappointed, But I think last year, coming into this, when we started this 5-3, sitting 2-2 in the PFL, we'd all been ecstatic. But we've changed, right? Our goals have changed, and the program has changed, and it's changed quickly, probably quicker than any of us could have imagined. So I think that the things that jump off at it is our expectations are higher, right? We expect to win when we go on the field, and when we don't, we're disappointed. But at the same turn, teams come in here playing their best because they know we're not the same Davidson. And that's what we have to get used to. And that's what we've talked a lot about in these last 2 to 3 weeks, is that understand we're going to get everyone's A game, because there's a lot more respect coming in here than there used to be. And so that takes some time. I think our kids are learning that, but that does take time to learn that. It's a different phase of growth. You have phase 1 where you're trying to learn how to win. Now you have phase 2, where you're the hunted. Now you got to figure out how to bring your best, because everyone's going to bring their best. And that's what we'll focus on this week.
6th win would tie the total from last year. 3rd PFL win would also tie the total from last year. You mentioned health. That causes some issues with guys maybe playing a little bit out of position, or guys who don't have as much experience. But on the positive side, it also gives guys who you might not see as much of get some experience. Who have you seen step up?
Well, one guy you mentioned in kind of both those senses, playing out of position and stepping up, Zach Hester, right? So Zach was a backup tight end for us last year, started camp as a tight end, and has gotten moved to tackle, and has done a really, really nice job for us, right? Certainly out of his comfort zone, right? You go from wearing an eligible number to an ineligible number, but his attitude was, whatever our team needs, and he's done that, and he's really stepped up for us. I'm really proud of that. And defensively, Hunter Murphy, who really played very little last year, played some special teams, came into camp as a kind of a reserve defensive end, and then with the injury to Chi-Chi's had to step up and play, and has played really well, right? And so you love seeing that. You love seeing those opportunities, and they're always there, right? The next man up. So proud of those guys, and glad they've got this opportunity, and I'm glad they've taken the most of it.
Full week of practice ahead of you. What's the focus?
Yeah, the focus is being more consistent. Yeah, we showed flashes and signs Saturday of what kind of football team we are, right? And we kind of went together. When the offense went down and scored, the defense came out and got fired up and got a good stop. And we've got to learn to work alongside each other when things aren't necessarily going great on one side of the football or the other, right? We've got to learn to dig in. We can't just always just feed off the other side of the football's momentum. So that's what we talked about last night, right? There are going to be games where defensively that maybe they're showing us something we weren't quite ready for, and it might take us a couple series to adjust. And our offense needs to step up and handle that for the program, and vice versa. There are going to be games where offensively we have to make some adjustments. It may take us a little while to get it going, and the defense needs to really handle the pace of the game for us. And I don't think we did that on either side of the football Saturday. I think when one side went, the other side went with them. And when one side struggled, the other side struggled with them. And I've talked a lot. We've become a complete program this year, and I'm proud of that. And we just need to get back to doing what we do and playing the type of football we play.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck against
Thanks,
Valpo this weekend. That'll do it for this edition of the Davidson Football Coaches Corner. 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday at Richardson Stadium for the Wildcats game against Valparaiso. You can follow along if you can't make it to Richardson Stadium on the Davidson Radio Network at davidsonwildcats.com or on Twitter at DavidsonFB. For the head coach, Scott Abell, I'm Jake Eisenberg. Thanks for tuning in to the Davidson Coaches Corner, powered by Wade & Associates. We'll see you next week.